He might just be the best dirt bike rider in the world right now. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Back with another video. No, it's been a while other than the updates you've been seeing on YouTube, but I wanted to do this video. Something kind of came up in my mind while I was over in Spain, and I had the conversation a few times with people while I was in Spain at ISDE this year, and talked it over with people, and a lot of people that I talked to were kind of in agreement, and we were wondering, who's the best all-around rider on a dirt bike right now? If you combined off-road and moto, looking at different guys, and if we had some sort of a grand championship, a motocross, a GNCC style format, a sprint style format, ISD format, traditional hare scramble, maybe a national enduro type format, 4 or 5 different events, and combined everybody, took the top 20, 30, 40 guys from around the world, the United States and so forth, and did a grand championship. Who we kind of all talked on who we thought was the best rider at the time, or who would be worthy of, kind of taking that role, and we all kind of, not unanimously, but for the most part, we were all saying Josep Garcia. And, when you look back over the years, Josep is one of the best riders in the world. He's definitely one of the best at ISDE. He's won the last 4 ISDE outright, individually. And he capped off this year with a World Enduro Championship. And the way he rides at 6 days, which is the same style of riding, the same event format as the World Enduros, the Enduro GP series, he's on his game right now. And then, he came over here a couple years ago. He ran the first couple of GNCCs. He got on a podium. Yeah, granted, it was in Florida. He spent all winter down at Ranch Russell with Caleb and the boys. But, they don't have 2, 3, 4-hour races pretty much anywhere else in the world except for maybe Japan. At the time of this recording, Stu Baylor, Mike Wachowski, Nick DeFeo, they're all in Japan right now racing the final round of the JNCC series just outside of Tokyo. But, it's just, as far as ISDE goes in the sprint format, that's Garcia's thing. And it's, like I said, it's the same format as the Enduro GP series. And there's no long-form races. So when he came over here a couple of years ago and ran those first couple of GNCCs, or 2, 3, whatever it was, he ended up breaking his hand. So I think he bowed out around early, but he did get that podium in Florida, and showed what he's capable of. And when I first saw him, when I first learned about him, was when I was in Spain back in 2016 for the ISDE there. He was 3rd scratch, and he was the top junior. He was 3rd overall behind winner Taylor Robert and 2nd place Daniel Sanders. Those guys both won ISDE. Taylor won in 2016. Chucky won in 2019, I believe, in Portugal, or it might have been even 2018 in Chile. I can't remember off the top of my head, but 3rd scratch as a junior, as an 18-year-old kid, at ISDE was pretty darn impressive, and he's kept that momentum going ever since. And the reason I bring, we could do off-road easy enough with the different formats, the sprint / ISDE format, GNCC type of format, and so forth. But the reason I throw motocross into it is because, years ago we kind of had the same discussion, with who was the best all-around rider, and honestly it was, and everybody pretty much said this, that, paid attention and was around for the races and everything, and everybody pointed to Ryan Sipes. And there was, hard evidence of this with Ryan becoming the first American to win the ISDE outright in 2015 in Slovakia. He matched that up, around that time, a little bit before that with 250 Supercross wins, 450 outdoor podiums, before he made the switch to off-road. Actually, while he was switching to off-road. He was just a very good all-around rider. He got podiums in GNCC. He finally won a GNCC or 2. And, just with all of that, encompassing, and then, even the couple of years after he won ISDE, when he would return to ISDE, such as in France, he would still go out and win tests against Garcia, against Verona, against Loic Lerieux of France, just all those guys that have been champions, ever since Ryan won it. Ryan was still in that conversation, and, with his motocross background, the case was clear to be made that he was probably the best all-around rider in the world. If we would have done a grand world championship back then, Ryan was the guy. We move ahead to now in 2024, and you could very easily make the case that Josep Garcia is that guy. And, I keep talking about this grand championship. I'm not going to throw Supercross into the mix because that's a completely different ballgame. That's our thing, American thing. Everybody else is starting to do it, in, Australia and, Germany and the UK, even though that's, more arena cross sized, venues. But, Supercross, US Supercross is our thing, ever since the 70s, early 70s, and that's still our, bread and butter essentially. So I'm not, compared to the rest of the world, so I'm not going to throw Supercross into this conversation. The reason I bring motocross into it is because over in Europe, with the exception of the Enduro GPs and, the Spanish Enduro Championships, the British Enduro Championships, and so forth, French, Italian, all that, there isn't a whole lot of places, there aren't a whole lot of places for guys to ride off-road. There's not vast amounts of land anywhere for guys to ride off-road during the week. Pretty much their only options are to ride closed course motocross tracks. And if you go on a lot of these guys' social media pages, Garcia's, Steve Holcomb's, Andrea Verona's, any of those guys, all that's on their social media page is them riding motocross. If it's not at a race, if it's not at an Enduro GP or a French Championship or anything like that, it's at a motocross track. And Josep is very, very good on a motocross track. So is Holcomb, so is Verona. Those guys ride moto, honestly, more than our guys do. If you look at our GNCC guys, and a lot of our guys on the East Coast, GNCC, National Enduro, and US Sprint, a lot of our guys, at least our factory riders, aren't riding moto on the regular, at least on a traditional motocross track. Yeah, there's, a moto track down at Ranch Russell for the KTM guys, or it used to be for the KTM guys down in Florida, but it's all sand. But a lot of these guys aren't really riding traditional hard packed tracks. Now, a lot of the reason for that is anymore, at least on an actual, built motocross track, is hardly anybody's running practices anymore, at least out on the East Coast, just because of insurance and liability reasons and all that. But you look at the West Coast guys, the Works, NGPC, West Hare Scrambles, a lot of those guys, yeah, there's places to ride out, off-road, but if they want any kind of good riding or any kind of fast riding, they're on the motocross tracks, which is what NGPC is and what Works still is. And so you get the guys like Dante and Matteo Oliveira, heck, even Giacomo Redondi from Italy. He pretty much moved to the United States years ago, and he's been running the Works. He's been running the NGPC. He's been running West Hare Scramble. But he, he came over here. He's initially Italian, but he came over to the United States. He's been living in California, and he rides moto. So if Italy ever, picks up Giacomo ever again for ISDE, he's gonna be in there. I know he's a little bit older now, but he's still a plenty fast rider in his own right. But those West Coast guys, and the guys that even weren't on ISDE this year, but have done ISDE in the past, like Austin Walton, Jacob Argabright, those kind of guys, they ride moto a lot, and they ride the high-speed, faster stuff where it's just a full-bore sprint. In the GNCCs, we've kind of gone back to the ride it in reserve for the first half of the race or so, and then pick it up. Not all the time, but more or less, kind of how it was back 20, 25 years ago. And then you hop back over to the other side of the pond, all those guys that are riding moto during the week, and you can see why that style of riding translates over to the ISDE so well, especially with Garcia. Garcia just rides so much differently than everybody else, and it's evident in the video. I've got video from all these years, 2 of the years now that he's won ISDE, since I didn't go to France and I didn't go to Argentina, but I've got all the video from before he started, winning scratch, overall with these things, and he rides that bike differently, and to see him, especially in Spain a few weeks ago, ride those tests so much differently compared to Steve Holcomb. It's just a different style of riding, but Holcomb would get him in some of the tests. Garcia was winning most of the rest of them. You'd throw a straggler in there. Dante won a test. You get some of the other guys. Johnny was up in there not winning a test, but we got some of our Americans, 4 of the Americans in the top 7 in the results, things like that. But for the most part, it was the Garcia and Holcomb showdown, and we really got robbed right on day 1 in ISDE with Andrea Verona losing his engine, because Verona was always the guy that was giving Garcia fits for the special test wins and so forth regularly in the previous years at ISDE. But, circling back around to the initial point, Garcia is a strong rider. He's 26 years old. He's still a young kid. And, when you encompass back around to the all-around, Garcia did some hard enduro, some of those West enduros, the World Extreme Super Series, or whatever they called it, but the Erzberg type events, and he was good at those. He didn't win any of them, but he was still a very strong rider in those things. So if you were to throw that in there, he's still a very capable rider in that regard, and I still put him at the head of the list when you encompass it all around. And so Josep Garcia, in my opinion, and a lot of the guys' opinion that I talked to, I talked to rider, team guys within the industry over at ISD. I talked to a lot of the media guys that actually get to see him even more than what I do and what the rest of us do at ISD. They go to the Enduro GP series, they go to the Spanish championships and whatnot, and they see him regularly, and they were, kind of in agreement with that opinion that I had, that Garcia is, probably the number 1 ranked rider in the world right now, or the number 1, all-around rider in the world right now. If you were to split everything up, do a combined championship with all those different disciplines and all those different formats, Garcia is probably your winner at present, and especially if you backlog this over the last 3, 4, 5 years. And so it's something interesting, and it's something I've kind of looked at over the last couple of years, and I'd be interested to see. It'd be nice to see. I know it's never going to happen, but it'd be something nice to see, a grand world championship like that, and bring the top 20 guys from Europe and bring the top 20 guys from America over, whether it be a qualifying process or selection process or whatever have you. But, and I know USA has won ISD before. I've been there for a couple of them. We've won 3 and I've been there for 2. It'd be nice to have those guys run more moto, at least our factory guys. Some of our guys that race ISD this year, they do run moto, during the week. The practice tracks and stuff, I wish they would do it a little bit more often, just so they had that intensity. Our woods are so wide open now, but you're still not fully, throttle pin on a 250, a 350, a 450 going through the woods, and certainly not for 3 hours. So I think if we want to bridge that gap a little bit, or at least bridge the gap to Garcia. Like I said, USA's won the ISDE 3 times now, but Garcia is leaps and bounds, 95% of the time over not only the American riders, but the whole rest of the world. Even in special tests this year, Garcia would crash, still get up, and win the tests. There were other tests where he didn't crash, and he would win by 7, 8, 12 seconds. So, he's that much better. And, I pulled up the results from the last 4 years, 2021, 22, 23, and now 24. He's won all 4 of those straight. And, to look at the win margins, in 2021 in Italy, he won by 1:56 over Andrea Verona and won most of the tests. In 2022, he won by 58 seconds over Andrea Verona and won most of the tests. In 2023 in Argentina, he won by 1:09 over Andrea Verona and won most of the tests. And then 2024, he wins by 2 minutes and 17 seconds over Steve Holcomb and won all but maybe 6 tests out of the 30-ish that we ran, maybe 28 of them, I think, because we threw out 2 of the tests on day 4. But, he's just leaps and bounds ahead of our guys for various reasons. Just his riding style, his comfortability with the tires, and I'm going to do another video where my opinions on that one. But yeah, Josep Garcia, the #1 rider in the world right now. When you do everything, throw out Supercross, but yeah. In my opinion, and a lot of the other guys' opinion that I talked to, media-wise, industry-wise, and so forth in Spain, Josep Garcia, the top rider in the world currently in 2024. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Got some big things on the works on the website, KWolfeMedia.com. Got some other things, got some merch in the works, and so forth. But I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.